Okay.
So maybe we can.
That lip color and that scarf is very...
Really?
Yeah, it's a good
Your hair is looking really good
I
today.
appreciate I washed it.
Oh, is that what happens?
I only wash every 3rd to 4th day.
I don't wash mine either, but it doesn't look good when I wash it. So it's like, that's why I don't.
I washed yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So today's day
Number
2.
two. Looks
Day
really
1,
good.
it's like coiffed,
Yeah.
and that's annoying.
Yeah.
And day 3 is
It's like-
ponytail. Day 4 is messy bun. But day 2 is usually...
Day 5 is grease mess.
Day 5 is like, all right, put the dry
Yeah.
shampoo away and get your ass in the shower.
I'll wet my hair every day, but I won't shampoo it. So,
I want the Jetsons to come into my life where you stand on that conveyor belt
Yeah.
and it like coiffs you, does your makeup, puts your clothes on, and then pushes you
and
into
then
your
gives you a
car.
breakfast.
It's like they now have those video phone things and like hover cars. So someone needs to get on that Jetson, stand on the conveyor belt, and it gets you ready thing.
But don't you think that that's part of self-care is doing that for yourself? It's like taking time.
I'm Jill Johns,
I'm Anita Brown.
and you are listening to the Pause Button 2.0.
Upgrading your self-care.
Yes, we are. Is taking a shower part of self-care?
And just like fixing your hair and taking the time.
Right.
Doing all that stuff. I have a friend who like nightly pampers herself with a shower and lotion, and that's part of her self-care.
Wow.
And I am not there. I'm
No.
like, you know what? It's like the faster I can get out of the house when it's time to get out of the house, like the better.
I find it to be very annoying that I find it's like I'm having this like misogynistic conversation in my brain of like, must be nice to be a guy and just take a shower and like fluff off and walk out the door 4 minutes later, because by the time I start my process, it's like 45 to 50 minutes later that I'm done, and it feels very restrictive.
When I had longer hair, it definitely was like that for me. But with shorter hair, it's a lot quicker. But now I've been wearing makeup a little bit more because I kind of feel like I look dead if I don't. And then also for being on camera, I want to at least like say like I do have eyelashes
And lips.
and lips. I have lips. They're just very thin, but they're there.
So for me, it would be in the morning, and in the morning, would I rather sit and journal and meditate and listen to Abe, or get in the shower and then spend 45 minutes like drying and curling my hair? I will every single day take the journaling and meditating over the shower component.
Me too. Yeah.
And I went through a phase like a year ago where I was like, I'm just gonna go back to natural Jill. No more makeup. Like, I'm just gonna wash and go with my hair. And then I really felt like shit about myself. Like, my self-esteem was really in the tank. So that didn't work for me either. So I do require a little bit of like, a minimum mascara and lipstick kind of thing, and dry shampoo and the grease balm on my head. But I really don't want to spend an hour a day. It doesn't feel like self-care to me.
That doesn't feel like self-care to me either. Like showering when I feel like shit does, like, but I don't like every day of a shower and primping like that, like that doesn't feel like self-care, and I don't know if it should, you know?
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't like the word should, so.
No, me neither. When I think of, if it kind of goes back to like, what's right for you and your self-care. So I know that there are people or times where that outer appearance or whatever is critical for people's internal dialogue and what's going on with them, but I am not that person. Like, I really don't care. Like, if people look at me and like want to snicker about my messy bun or my makeup being off or whatever, like, it doesn't affect my day in the slightest.
No, me neither. I mean, if I was putting on makeup or fixing my hair, like, so that well, actually, I guess that's not true. I do put on makeup just so that people don't think that I'm like completely neglecting my face.
Okay.
A little bit. And I used to not. Like, that's new since I got my new job. Like, I don't want to be the only one not wearing makeup at my job.
That's funny.
Besides the man. But normally I wouldn't wear any makeup. and I'm fine with that.
Right.
And but there would be I guess I get kind of caught up in my own thinking where I feel like the self-care practice of like washing my face and showering and shaving and all that stuff is like, that should be like, if I do it once for self-care, then obviously that's a self-care thing that I should be doing regularly, and that's maybe not true for me. Like, it's not a regular thing for me. It's just when I need to have that done, I need to do that.
So it's more of a necessity than a pampering?
Yeah, but when I do it, it feels like a self-care pampering.
Okay.
You know?
But I think it gets into that point of like, but you don't need to do it every single day in order for it to feel good. You can do it every third day or whatever
like,
that
it's
number is.
not self-care just because I'm not doing it every day.
Uh-huh.
It's like, it's still self-care when it happens.
Right.
And then the other days when I don't need it to happen, I don't need it to happen. So it's still self-care that I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
That sounds like a good answer to
It
me.
does. Well, I think it makes. I think there's a little bit of, like you said, the shoulding around like, okay, so if I don't do yoga every day or if I don't journal every day, does that mean I suck at self-care? Or does it just mean that today journaling feels like what I need to be doing, so I'm journaling? So it's more of a self-awareness piece than like a self-shaming piece.
I don't know. I feel like I'm becoming aware of that right now.
Right now?
Yeah, like right now.
Like this minute?
Yeah, like it's just dawning on me like, yeah, that's true. I used to have like a daily yoga practice. And now I kind of feel like now I'm not doing self-care because I'm not doing it every day.
Right.
But I don't want to.
I have that right now too. I'm working with a health coach and really trying to figure out what regular routine I can be in comfortably. And I started with this, like, every day I'm going to do this and this and this. And I found myself, like, there are of that list, like, I really like the hooping part. I can do that every day, and it's fitting seamlessly into my lifestyle, and I'm doing it, like, 6 out of 7 days. But some of the other things that I had put on the list that I was going to do every single day, like, I felt so much guilt on the first day that I didn't do one of those things that I said I would do every day. And then I got into the whole, like, I don't want to tell her that I'm not doing it. And then now it's been 2 days, so I must totally suck. So I can't even, like, pick that activity back up at all because I'm such a liar and full of shit or whatever. And it's like, no, maybe that's not true. Maybe I need to do those activities on the days that I'm feeling compelled to do those, and then kind of let go of the self-judgy piece.
Yeah, and yet there's a part of me that really feels like when it comes to movement and exercise, just things like that, there is, like, our bodies need it daily.
Yeah.
Like, we have to move daily to stay healthy. And so there's still a part of me that feels like, okay, well, your truth in this moment might be like, oh, just tell yourself that you don't need to do it every day and it's part of your self-care. But then there's, like, this universal truth that you need it every day. So I still kind of beat myself up if I'm not making movement part of my everyday self-care practice.
What is your daily movement? You walk and run?
No, that's not daily. That's that was like when I feel like it.
Okay.
And I used to feel like it every day. And so, like, if I don't feel like it every day, I'm like, damn it. What's wrong with me now? I'm lazy. So my daily, I don't have a daily, honestly. I besides being more in touch with my emotions and honoring myself more, I don't have a daily practices of self-care.
And so that faith, like, because you want, like, what's going on?
I feel like I need to.
Okay.
And there's definitely a want to. And so, like, I want to have a daily yoga practice.
Okay.
It felt really good when I was moving and limber and strong, and I don't feel those things now. And so I do feel like I want that for myself. And when I think about what happens in my day from the time I wake up until I go to bed, I don't, like, what am I going to, like, take out so I can put yoga in? And I don't know right now.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting piece. On the days, I used to say, on the days that I can be creative and crafty are days that I know that I've, like, been successful and not over crammed and over scheduled my day. And that's I really enjoy like making things and helping like Zoe with her jewelry, or making buttons and stickers and whatever. And now I'm adding to that like days where I am doing something physical as well. So, but I have to like think about at the beginning of the day, like if I don't do like my physical stuff right at the beginning of the day in the morning, like it's pretty rare that it'll actually make itself in. And so like you said, it's figuring out like, well, what do I have to take out in order to plug that back in? And is it a trade-off that I'm willing to have? It's like sometimes it might be you have to have the extra sleep and so you snooze, or sometimes it's for me anyway, the morning practices of the mindfulness and meditation and journaling. Or it's the taking kids to school or taking a shower, right? It's like, what am I going to unplug from that window so that I can plug this other activity in? Because trying to like cram it all in just for me becomes a recipe of exhaustion versus like feeling good self-care. So yeah, I don't know always what to unplug from my day.
Your hell yes
Yep.
talks and stuff, and I was talking with somebody recently about, she was saying that things that are in her life are all things she wants in her life, and yet there's so much. And so it still is like stressful because there's so many things that she's doing that she likes to do.
Right.
And I can see that's kind of where I'm at a little bit.
Yeah.
In my life is like, I have so many yeses that now I have to start thinking like, well, what's the hell yes?
Yeah, prioritizing the yeses. Yeah, I mean, I think I love that point, because it's like before my life used to be full of no's or have to's or should do's, and now there are very few have to's and should do's left. And the ones that still remain really stick out like an outlier, like, oh yeah, that one is still in my to-do list and it's not a yes, much less a hell yes.
Becomes really obvious. Yeah.
So what are your hell yeses right now, do you think?
My hell yeses. My hell yeses, I am still really excited about the fact that I'm off at 5:30 and then I don't have anything scheduled in my day after that. So it's just the fact that that's a hell yes, is like to get off at 5:30 and then not have something scheduled.
Yep.
And
so that's something that becomes like a guide for you to know not to say yes to something else, because you know that you want that finite cutoff time.
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's like the rule is that I'm off, and then the exception is I might put something there that's like a yes in that moment, but it's not a yes forever.
Yes.
Like, for instance, I will schedule a massage Monday through Thursday in the evening every so often, but not on a regular basis. Like, I won't have somebody's wellness massage be every Tuesday at 6.
Right.
So that when I say yes to it, I'm like consciously I'm saying yes to that one moment, and then I know that all the other days I'm going to be off, and like next week on that day I'm going to be off, probably.
Right.
So that's like the biggest hell yes, is being off and not having something scheduled.
Well, that's a time management. That sounds like to me as a time management thing. So it's not about the fact that you're off. It's about the fact that you set 5:30
the hell yes is
the
the
limit.
boundary. The time boundary there. Yeah.
What else? What else is a hell yes?
You think of some.
Gosh, I think so. For me, my hell yeses are, so if and whenever somebody asks me to speak at something, that is a hell yes for me right now. And so that will supersede anything else to me, that's how I determine like what's a yes versus a hell yes. It's the concept of, would I be willing to miss my kids' soccer event, or would I be willing to miss dinner with my husband in order to go do this thing? Because I love to go to my kids' events and I love to have dinner with my husband. And so a hell yes for me has to pass that sniff test of, is it something that I'd be willing to do in lieu of going to my kids' event or hanging out with my husband. And so for me right now, like, the podcast is a hell yes for me. It's something that I can willingly say to my husband, yes, go off and do your own thing, because I'm going to stay home and do this because this is awesome. And I've, like this and the speaking have been the two things that I've been willing to miss my kids' events for. And that's how I know internally in me that it's a hell yes, because it's something that I don't feel remorseful for once I've said yes to it, and I'm willing to let other things come up that I'm willing to miss.
Mm-hmm. So when you put it like that, I think the hell yes, like what is the hell yes? Like the podcast is the hell yes for me, because when I went from teaching and I was like, I kind of felt like I was always on throughout the week thinking of lessons or whatever, so it's like always on, and then plus like, you know, putting in 40 hours in 4 days, and two, working like basically a 30-hour a week job Monday through Thursday, getting off at 5:30, doing some massages on Friday and Saturday, but keeping that within my time boundaries. I just kind of felt like I had so much time that I was just like blissfully just like floating in all this time. It was so wonderful, and I was really hesitant to like put something in that time. So I was really, really careful, and it's like I really kind of felt like I was going to jump right into a project, but once I had that time, I was like, fuck no, this feels way too good to like fill it up. So it's like since May, it's like over about 6 months
About, yeah.
of
Floating.
Yeah, of floating before it was like, okay, now I'm ready to use that time. Like the hell yes, the podcast is the hell yes to use that time that was my floating time. So that feels good to me. That's maybe my only hell yes. Besides, like, my job is a hell yes. Like, I love my job, and doing massages is a hell yes. And the free time when I'm not doing my job is a hell yes. But I guess, like, really, like, creating my own secluded time in the morning is not a hell yes. Creating a yoga practice, I don't know, in the evenings is not a hell yes. Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I think mine, like when I think about my morning practice for me is a hell yes, but does it pass the sniff test of would I be willing to do that in lieu of going out to breakfast with Ken, or like, you know, going to something for the kids? It's like, it's more like a yes, and it's a thing that I'm willing to plug into an open space that feels productive. But is it a hell, like that like supercharged yes, like the hell yes? Like, yeah, that one slips the most on, you know, it's like on a Saturday morning, I would rather go to breakfast with Ken than say, oh, wait a minute, I need my hour in order to do my self-care practice, because by that time he would get into his groove and move on, and then I might miss the opportunity. And so it's not a thing that I'm willing to like do in lieu of spending that time with him. But it's something that I'm willing to do, like in lieu of going to a meeting that I don't want to go to.
Right.
Or it's something that I'm willing to do in lieu of showering or exercising, right? So it kind of helps me like prioritize on the scale, like where it falls in my like willingness to do it. And as those things get like pushed lower and lower down the list, it's like those are the ones that I'm learning to like prune off and eventually like create a strategy to get rid of.
I think when it comes to like, if I have it in my head that I would like to have a daily exercise practice of some kind, and then food too. So I really don't think about like, I wish I was caring for my skin more. Like, I don't have that, but I do think like I really want an exercise time. I really want mindful meal planning, and I think part of the resistance of not doing that is because I'm not doing it.
Right.
You know, it's like it's easier to keep not doing it than it is to like start doing it. So once I would do it long enough to like have that turnaround to where like that feels like a hell yes, and the other things like what you're saying like starts to prioritize, like, well, the thing that I used to do before, like maybe veg out on Facebook or something as like my self-care like decompress time, instead of, you know, cooking a meal that's going to take like 30 to 45 minutes.
Right.
Like, but once I do that and I feel how great it feels to eat great, then I can see where that's going to be the hell yes, and the other thing that was like my decompress time is like
Push down
like
priority.
It's not the priority because it doesn't feel as good.
So what I'm hearing you say, and I think it rings true for me, is that it's the inertia to get something started that's the hardest part. It's like once you have the inertia, once it's going, once it's happening, then it's easier to maintain it and keep it going versus the like actually getting it off the ground and started.
And I know that to be true, like that really is like a physics thing. When something is at rest and then getting it going, the amount of
inertia,
it's like kinetic energy or some sort of friction thing. It's like the it is more is like that initial nudge is there is more friction against that just at that moment, and then once you get it going, it's not as much friction against it.
Well, I'm a creator on the wealth dynamics, and so my gift to the world is to be the one that can get things started. And so I have a lot of that excess energy to get things started and off the ground. My personal issue is the maintenance, like the sustainability and the regularity and like the cadencing of it. Like I can do a really good job today of meal planning, but like 4 weeks from today, I've kind of lost my give a damn to keep meal planning. I have, a lot of energy around starting, something new in my life, but it's the sustainability and the ongoingness that I have the biggest trouble with. And I got a lot of negative feedback in my corporate years about not having like stick-to-itness and about not having, the ability to like finish the project. Like, oh, Jill's great at starting a project, but she's not good at finishing the project. And I know, again, from like my personality profile, my wealth dynamics, that should be accurate for me, right? So I have to think when I start something new like that, I have to be strategic at the beginning. Like, okay, what's my plan to help myself maintain my success when I do start these new things? So like right now, starting this new like health plan, I have to think today about, okay, around week 4, week 5, week 6, I start to peter off, but I don't want to. So who are the people, what are the processes, what are the systems that I can put in place today when I have the energy to get that new project started, so that when I get to that phase 3, 4, 5 weeks out, that I have the team, the infrastructure, the process, the systems in place in order to allow me to continue to move forward. And so like professionally, that's, can happen from a team building perspective. It's more on that self-care side though, when it's like, but I'm alone, like this is my thing, this is my project. Like I don't have a team or a group of people, to be there for me at that 3rd, 4th, 5th week when I start to lose my inertia, which is why, partnering with somebody or having like the Facebook group or having those accountability partners for me is so critical, because I want somebody there reminding me and nudging me when I get to that phase, where I know that energetically I'm going to dip off.
So how does having that group help you in that? If you are the creator of like starting something new, so how will that help you?
Because then at that point when my energy starts to dip, I can kind of ride on the coattails of other people whose energy is still going. I can, especially now, again, like I'm asking in advance before I get to that phase, because I'm conscious and I'm aware of the fact that that's probably going to happen, because history has proven again and again and again that that's my pattern. So to be able to ask of people to be able to help me before I get to the phase of like, oh shit, I did it again. I'm really good at starting things. Not my strength to.
Are you like that with your meditation practice then?
So ways that my so building the infrastructure around it, right? Like teaching meditation every Wednesday at a facility where other people are relying on me to be there is one of the ways that keeps me accountable to doing it regularly, because now I'm like on the hook with other people and other people are expecting it, and I'm usually pretty good about meeting people's expectations of me. So those are some of those ways that I build the infrastructure in place to hold myself accountable.
See, if that was me, I would end up I would resent that obligation.
Okay.
I would end up being like, fuck, I don't want to go do this. Like, I want to be done now. And then I would like, I just feel like all curmudgeon-y about having to go
and do
and
something
do it.
like,
Yeah. And then once I would go do it, I would feel really great.
Mhm.
But like, I guess the obligation of having to go do it.
well, but it's a thing. Okay, so I would say yes, I would feel that way about things when I said yes to when I should have said no, right? But to me, meditation and teaching meditation is a hell yes. But it's also like laid over the top of that is this realization that I know that I peter out energetically. And so meditation and teaching meditation is still a hell yes. It's just that my energy has now dipped. And so the structure keeps me on point. But I would always feel like resentful when I had, like if I say yes to teaching a class at the local technical school, right? That I did that one semester. It was like, it sounded great the first 3 weeks, but then after the 4th week, it wasn't a hell yes. And so when I had to miss my kid's soccer event, like then I was pissed off of having to be there, and being held captive was terrible for me because it was something I should have said no to.
But you didn't know that until you got into it?
I'm sure if I would have like
Really
been
not.
calm and quiet and whatever, I would have known that it wasn't a hell yes.
Yeah, but I guess you really have to know your personality.
Well, and then also knowing like, okay, I thought it was a yes, but it turns out to not be a hell yes. And so if I ever get asked to do it again, I have to say no. Like I shouldn't say yes to doing this thing because I tried it and it didn't feel good. And so now it's got to be a no from here on out. Because you're right. Sometimes you don't know when you say yes. You think it might be a hell yes for whatever reason. That turns out to be a no. Do you find that you feel resentful and curmudgeon-y when it's your hell yes things?
No. It's more like it was a hell yes and it turned into a no. And maybe it turned into a no because my needs changed.
Yes.
Like, for instance, I don't want to have a full-time massage practice anymore because I really thrive on being around people I can actually interact with, like on a peer basis. So that's why I have to have coworkers I can actually interact with.
Yes.
I do like doing massage, and like I like doing that. But a full-time practice where I'm basically quiet all day, like that's not my thing anymore. And it used to be my thing. Like that's why I got into it. So it was a hell yes to be able to be quiet all day and like not have to interact with somebody and just but that's just not my needs anymore.
And I think what you said there is super important to know that your needs are going to shift. Like just because something is a hell yes today, and if something in your life dynamic shifts, that hell yes can turn to a no overnight, and you're allowed to shift.
Right.
Yeah, like on a dime.
Yeah. So maybe that's really what happens to me is with those types of things where it's like it is a hell yes and my needs change and then it becomes an obligation and a resentment.
And then it's no longer a hell yes.
Right.
But I still think for me there are things that are hell yeses but still on a day-to-day basis can feel more like an obligation because there's it's not singular. It's not just one hell yes in my life. It's like there's 4 or 5 things in my life that are a hell yes, and the 4 or 5 things rearrange in order of priority. And so even something that's a hell yes can feel like the 4th or 5th priority, and if it's a day where I have those other 3 things to do, even my hell yeses can feel weighty. I mean, I think talking about the concept of is it a hell yes or a yes or a no is really important. That distinction, probably in all of my self-care practices, has been my number 1 guiding principle. Really to be able to distinguish between, it's not a distinction between yes and no, it's actually the distinction between yes and hell yes that has allowed me to elevate and upgrade. I mean, when you talk about going from a self-care practice to an upgraded self-care practice, that distinction between yes and hell yes is what makes me feel like I have upgraded.
The upgrade for me is like just the fact of being aware. And I guess like letting go of, it really might be my old way to kind of beat myself up if I changed, and I'd be like, what's the matter with me? Like I can't stick to something. What happened is my needs changed. Why can't I just
evolved.
Yeah, it's like I just let go of it. So the upgrade for me is like really that self-aware piece. and like being aware in any given moment, like what's going on and what do I need, and being able to provide that for myself.
Yeah.
That's my practice of upgrading.
Is that in tune, constant awareness, and allowing it to shift and change and morph.
Yeah.
Yeah, without holding yourself to something.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, beating myself up about changes.
And just giving yourself grace.
Yeah, just giving yourself the space to be what you
Yeah.
need to be at that time.
Right. I
Yeah.
agree. Good.
Yeah.
So today was an off-the-cuff conversation just about what self-care looks like for us.
And it meandered, so I don't even know where did we start.
Yeah.
I don't remember where we started, but the hell yes part.
Well, we
really was a
started by
big deal.
talking about daily practices like
Oh, right.
showering.
Yeah, should I take a shower?
Just other
Yeah.
thing, and then kind of what does a self-care practice? Does it have to be a daily thing, or can it be something that
Right.
just kind of morphs as we evolve? And I think what I heard us say is that when we weren't really in tune with ourselves, things would just evolve off of the list when we really should have been maintaining them for us, or could have been. And then knowing the distinction between a hell yes and a yes.
And our hell yeses will change.
Yes. And that's great.
Good.
Yay. All right.
All right. Cheers.
Have a great day.
Bye.